I've been thinking to myself, what am I going to do with some of the assets and the templates that I created to facilitate some of my existing services? I'm going to be giving away some of this content for free, but a lot of it I'm just going to put out as really low cost templates compared to my full engagement services. So today, I'm going to do some work to build out the systems and workflows that I need. My goal is to be able to give away a free template and then auto reply whenever people sign up to receive it with a link back to the template in case they didn't download it the first time, or maybe they're looking for it in their inbox. And finally, to record those contacts inside of my CRM so that later, when I have additional templates available or other resources, I can send them out to them as well. Let's get started. Okay, I think it would help if I just created like a quick flow chart. So let's do that. Okay, that looks good. Let's keep us on track. So step one here, template download. Now I've chosen to go with Lemon Squeezy. I'm testing it out. If it's great, it's great. I hope it's great. Let's get signed in and create our first template. I'm actually going to pull an existing template into Lemon Squeezy just so I can get a feel for and like test out the workflow and everything. So, you got it. Okay, so I didn't realize this, but back when I set this up in HubSpot, I also set it up in Lemon Squeezy. I'm going to take a quick look at this freebie and just scroll through, see if there's anything I need to change. Uh, Looks like I've got the lead magnet set up, and I'm linking directly to both, although I could set up variants. I want to stay focused and work on the workflow portion of this, but I definitely should come back to learn more about what variants are in this platform and if that's something I want to leverage in the future when I create one template, but it's in multiple platforms. Since I myself work in a lot of platforms, my clients are in multiple platforms, I do my best to translate best principles across those different platforms. So that's worth looking into. Okay, confirmation modal. Maybe this could be better. Hmm. Thank you for downloading. Customize the button link in the purchase confirmation modal. Let's see an example of what that's going to look like. And maybe I want this to be, I don't mean to take over this tab. Let's do a new one. Naturally. I started tinkering with this yesterday, so I'm gonna pick back up where I left off. But yesterday I was doing a more complicated version of this. So we've got the lemon squeezy product. Here's what I am doing. I know that this is going to be triggered by a webhook, and so I went ahead and set up the webhook inside of Lemon Squeezy. If you're looking for how to do this, I usually start by going to some sort of design settings area where they almost always have information about the API. Here, it's webhooks separate from API. So I created my webhook. That test mode needs its own webhooks. Okay, that makes sense. But I also know that their API documentation gives sample payloads. So I took the sample payload in their documentation and I put it inside of a parse JSON module. So this is a fantastic way for you to be able to test with a full data set and build out your workflows and conditions. I want to call out that Make did make an update where now you can actually use prior scenario runs in testing. This is huge. This is what the people have wanted. It's one of the number one reasons why at least building inside of Zapier was easier for so much longer because you didn't have to work with live data. So the sample payload method is not required. It's just something I'm used to because I've been in the app for a long time. So I've got my sample payload and I know that I want to take one key action at the end of a freebie. So let's just for a second assume that we are not dealing with a paid product in Lemon Squeezy. I've got a sleep module set here because when this is a paid workflow, I've already got event listeners inside of Stripe that are processing that payment and making sure that contacts show up inside of my CRM. I don't want to trigger all of the workflows at the exact same moment. And then I end up searching for contacts and creating multiple at the same time. So the sleep module is just one way that I can make sure that I'm paying attention to the fact that I do have instant triggers tied to payment workflows in my business. And then when it comes to data and data reconciliation later, I take a pause before searching for people. Also, if you're using a webhook in Lemon Squeezy, you can set up separate webhooks if you're dealing with subscriptions or if you're dealing with regular standalone payments in order to make this workflow more durable so that I don't actually have to reinvent the wheel. I just decided to use the set multiple variables tool. So what this will do is it gives me the ability to set the same variable, but depending on whether or not this is a subscription or it's a single purchase, I can like pipe in the values I need. So in this current sample payload, it's triggered whenever there's a purchase. I'm pulling in key fields and just setting up the variables here, largely because I wasn't that familiar with the payload when I got started setting them up. But the email stays the same. It maps the same no matter what data source it is. I also have some basic formulas set up because the data that we're going to get out of Lemon Squeezy is going to give us one name. And that's not going to help us in a CRM where you have a first name and a last name separately. So I use the get and split method to split a name by the first space. Everything before the first space, I consider the first name. Everything after the first space is what I'm going to put in as the last name. And then I'm going to bring in the amount if there was, in fact, a payment amount. If there was a discount, also I log that. And then indicate which product, which template did somebody download. And I'm pulling in both the product and product ID because I don't yet have my data structure set up inside of Fibree, which is my workspace hub. But because I know that I have some options on how I set up this data, I might just map using product IDs and have a table of Lemon Squeezy products inside of my workspace. instead of me having to like translate certain records from plain text to an enum, find the UUID, and then link it that way. So I just want to make sure that I have at least the basics of what I would record. Since my CRM right now is HubSpot, I want to talk through two ways that we can do this. I personally don't think it matters, but I wanted to see how it would differ. We're going to ignore if it is a purchase because that's not what we're solving for today. We're disabling that. And I'm filtering out purchases whenever the amount of money is greater than zero. Okay, so if it's a freebie, we have two options. I can create a form inside of HubSpot, which correlates to downloading freebies. I actually already have an existing form, so that's why I'm considering this method. But since the actual purchasing is not happening in HubSpot, and I'm not going to be creating a record of the sale in HubSpot, then I could also just create the contact. It does the same thing. My goal is to find the contact and indicate that they have completed some sort of conversion. And in my case, it's downloading a freebie. I can do that by using the create or update contact module. And then I pull in values from, and this one is the wrong one, from my set multiple variables module. So now I'm pulling in from module number 4, which is going to stay consistent. And then when people download one of my freebies, I'm going to consider them a lead because they might be interested in other things that I have available to them. In your system, you might call this a marketing qualified lead. I just need my life to stay simple. That's why I don't always use all those terms. And then if you already have a form inside of HubSpot, you can also just type in those exact form response values. I think the user experience of filling in a form module is really quick and easy. You would have to search the different properties that you need whenever you're creating or updating a contact in that module. So that's the difference between the two options, but they will both do the same thing. The one benefit that I think exists when you're using a form is that you can see the form as an activity inside of the HubSpot record. And if HubSpot is your primary email marketing tool, that is a different way to segment people. You can trigger different workflows, or you can filter and add people to segments based off of form responses. So that's just something to keep in mind. Okay. What I want to do is actually to create another more generic form inside of my HubSpot for all of my lead magnets. The form that I created last time is actually tied to some automations around sending follow-ups for people who are interested in that specific Coda and Notion template. But I just want basic data ingestion. So I'm going to go and get started setting up a form in HubSpot. Let's bring that over to your screen. Okay, I'm in the form editor now. I'm going to try the new form editor. To me, they're all the same. Start from blank. I don't know any actual features that have been dropped from the old form editor that the new one offers. And given my plan in HubSpot, like I'm not paying for enterprise, it is, yeah, there's very little value created here. One thing that I do want to record. Oh, I do have my custom source. I won't do that after all. I wanted to do my lead magnet tag. Got it. Can I set my lead status? I can. And life cycle. Oh, it's probably because that's actually tied to the form automations on the back end. So basic information, first name, last name, email, which lead magnet did they opt into, and then what's their status for future lead generation or lead engagement. I think that's basic enough. Okay. What happens next? I need to do some basic settings, not automation, but I think this is where we're hiding it now. Create contacts if they don't already exist. Yes, these are people who I want to be able to send out a marketing blast to in the future. That doesn't matter. I'm not upgrading today. Okay. Submission settings. I don't need HubSpot to send me a notification. I will likely get notifications from Lemon Squeezy, and if I don't, I'll automate it directly through Lemon Squeezy. Block free email providers. Hmm. Let's see. If I get a bulk of that and it doesn't prove to be useful for my business, I might block it, but I don't have a reason. Let's review and update. Form logic. Well, no one's actually going to see this form. This is just for data ingestion purposes. So choose between embedding a form. I don't need that at all. Let's go back to make. I need to refresh my module. Oh, it's here. Okay. First name, last name. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, good. I'm checking to see what it would look like if I map this over in text, because what likely I'll end up doing is using some sort of switch formula based off of the product ID or the product name. Then I'll put the regular text uh, that the API uses to then populate this field. For now, we can just use the business checklist as a fixed value because we're just going to test the workflow. I get to choose my lead status as well. We're going to consider everyone a new lead. Get the portal ID from the URL. Let's go back. Okay. I'm taking a gander that my portal ID is actually like the number in the URL when I'm on HubSpot and not from the URL of the form. I wish that was a little clearer there. Are there any advanced settings we need? Oh, oh, cool. So I could actually pull in some values from Lemon Squeezy if I wanted to about the page and the URL where someone did submit this form. Not bad. But it doesn't seem to be a part of the payload. No matter. These aren't required. Okay. I am going to unlink the create or update contact because I don't feel like I need that, and I would prefer to use submitting a form. I'm also, for the sake of testing, this is like my dumping ground, guys. It's not going to look pretty. I'm going to remove my sleep module. Okay, so I've just put in like a demo email address, and I'm going to run this once to make sure everything's working the way I want it to. Are there any errors? Nope, appears not. Let's go to HubSpot, and we're going to go back. Check on form submissions. Oh, it did. Got it. When it says no contact record, HubSpot just refused to make a record, but the data came in perfectly. I was like, how am I going to troubleshoot this one? I don't know where I went wrong. Okay, so feeling good. That closes out like step 3, which is we want this data to go inside of our CRM somewhere, somehow. Now that I'm seeing it, conversion page being unavailable, I don't love that. I wonder what data we're getting out of Lemon Squeezy I can use. I got my store ID and order number. I think that store links. Let's see what that looks like. I could use the store URL. That works. Yeah, I like that. That will do. And we'll just call it page name Lemon Squeezy and the product number. And the URL is going to be my store URL. I don't know enough about the difference between related and self. Okay, let's get the Lemon Squeezy API. So we'll go to Google. Let's hope it's in here. I'm going to search for order created. Well, okay, we're just going to experiment. Let's experiment. So the page URL that we use can be the self save. Okay, so we currently have everything we need in order to capture free leads. The rest of what we have in our workflow, these are things that I need whenever I start processing payments, which I don't have any data for that yet. So when I'm ready to make this live, here's how I'm going to use the make extension. First, I'm going to unlink my sample payload. I'm going to switch the trigger to my webhook, and I'm going to connect it. Now, this next part, you could do manually, but I don't like to do that. This is actually one of the reasons why it's great to set all of your variables and then just pull them in. Here, this is telling me that I didn't actually set variables for all of the values. That, or it's doing a really intelligent job of like cascading down the impact of me changing the source. So I'm going to use the extension to remap the source, and I'm going to tell make that originally the module was 2. Now the module is going to be module number 1, and I want it to run for everything inside of the workflow or the scenario. Actually, this is not the first time I've had this issue. It's been buggy. I'm going to hold on to these for now and come back to them later. Let's double check. Did it run? It ran successfully here. I see. Okay. And what about my only open route? Okay, not bad. While we're here, I'm just going to take a quick look. We're going to leave that one alone for now. A lot of data that we would have to blur. Save anyways. Okay. I've got all my extra modules in one place. I'm just going to leave them there for when I come back and improve this scenario. And I'm just going to document it inside of Library. Got the URL. And a quick screenshot. I don't want to over document. Let's put my screenshot here. Lemon Squeezy product, version. Lemon Squeezy is going to also handle the download email. Then Lemon Squeezy to HubSpot via Make. Make that phone adds contact to HubSpot via off platform lead magnet. Okay, this is like bare bones, bare minimum documentation that I need to come back to this and know what I decided to use. I'm going to update my subscriptions property so I can accurately indicate which platforms and tools are associated. We haven't yet done the paid workflow, so that's why I'm not adding fiber yet. But when I get around to tracking paid templates, I will. I'm going to use my keyboard shortcut to make sure that this is on the same header 3 level as everyone else. And I actually need to ideate that a little bit more. So I think I'm going to call it in. This will get me over the hurdle of actually sharing some of the templates I built with you and with everyone else. Can't wait to get your feedback on my first template, which is going to center around helping us evaluate cost centers and making sense of all of the changes in our software apps over the past year, especially as people are launching AI and AI driven features. There's a lot less differentiation in the market. So if that's something you're interested in, leave a comment. Please let me know. And thanks for coming along with me.